What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Punk Rock Radar. And today we are looking at 10 punk bands' newest record and ranking them tier list style. That is 2 per tier. We previously did all of these bands' debuts in the series of debuts versus newest, seeing where all these different bands stack up from their first record to the newest one. This will probably be the last one of these we do for a little bit. We'll probably get back more into the just singular band discographies and a few other things that you guys have been asking for as well. But today we are doing a couple different bands, and I'm joined by Dying Scene's very own Screeching Bottle Rocket, aka Dylan. Next to him, we've got Hudson Valley hardcore legend Lewis, and owner of the channel himself, Mr. Punk Rock Radar, John. So all of us have made it today to talk about 10 bands, and the bands we are talking about today are the Flatliners, Lawrence Arms, Rise Again, Strike Anywhere, A Wilhelm Scream, Against Me, Authority Zero, Belvedere, Hot Water Music, and much the same. So you guys ready to get in this ranking, and how was it going through all these bands' newest record? Was it more enjoyable than the debuts?
I thought we were talking about Jehovah's Return, personally. I don't know about you guys.
No, just Wilhelm Scream, not Jehovah's Return. So
Smackin' Jehovah.
Yeah, Smackin' Jehovah.
Yeah, this was slightly less enjoyable than the first albums, but not as bad as the last time.
Okay. John, what'd you think?
Higher highs, higher floors, I think.
Higher floors in general? Okay.
Yeah.
I think I overall liked... I liked 8 records, like some way more than others, but there's only 2 on here that I absolutely hate, and they're obviously going to go into D tier, so we'll talk about them. But I think overall this was a decent collection of records.
Agree.
Yeah. But we can get into it with the first band here. So who do we got here, John?
We've got the Flatliners, New Ruin from 2022.
All right. Well, John, go ahead and start us off with the Flatliners here, man.
All right. Yeah, I've been pretty outspoken that I am not a fan of Inviting Light, so my excitement was tempered for this release, but I think it's a good course correct in some spots. I think Performative Hours is a great song. Rat King is pretty good. Tunnel Vision's a solid song. Overall, based on the mix of records, I think it's somewhere in the middle. So I'm going to put the Flatliners right in the B tier to start us off.
All right. Lewis, what you doing with the Flatliners?
I think I like this record, actually. I wasn't really sure how I felt about it because I hadn't listened to it since we did the rankings. It's funny how like late Flatliners record sounds like what mid-career Against Me records a little bit. I don't know.
Definitely. Yeah.
Very Against Me vibes, but better, you know? I think this is a pretty good record. The ones John mentioned, obviously. I like the tempo shifts. I like a lot of the stylistic choice. I think the vocals are good, too. I think they're interesting. They're kind of a good range in a lot of the songs. I'm actually going to give this one an A. It's going to be my first A.
Excellent. Dylan, what you doing with New Ruin?
I, too, think this is a pretty good record. Across the board, though, it's a little more mid-tempo to slow than I would prefer. It doesn't have... what's that one song from Dead Language that's the second track? Bury Me. It doesn't have anything like that, unfortunately, that would give it that like 1-2 punch that I'm looking for in a later Flatliners album. But it's good. I like it. I believe it was one of my top 10 the year it came out. So that's something, I guess. I have it in the B tier.
All right. I'm probably the biggest Flatliners fan here, and we're still in this kind of like third rendition of the Flatliners. I still feel like this has obviously a lot of elements of Inviting Light, but I think the reason people can grasp onto New Ruin a bit more is, one, we kind of got rid of that kind of slight fuzzy lo-fi vocal effect that was on Inviting Light that a lot of people didn't like. That kind of added like an indie rock element to that record. You don't really have that here. And also you have Performative Hours, which is probably like, one of the most kick-ass Flatliners song they come out with a little bit. It's like a benefit and a detriment because I feel like Performative Hours sets a really high energy level that is like never met again throughout the record. And so when you're listening to it, you're kind of looking for another kind of Performative Hour like peak to raise you up a little bit, and you never quite find it. So I'll say that is like a flaw with the record, but I think this is a super solid collection of Flatliner tracks. I think, obviously Performative Hours, Top Left Door, I think is a really good song. Souvenirs, one of my favorites. And Under a Dying Sun has like this hauntingly just chilling chorus for like an ending track. And I still think it's, out of all the records here, this is one that I'm going to go back to the most, and maybe just because I'm a Flatliners fanboy, but it's going to my S. So yeah. I think it's an excellent record.
I think I agree with all the stuff John and Dylan said about like kind of like a little bit less energy. And you said it too, but yeah, I don't think there's like really any skips on this record. I'll be honest. Like it's good. Yeah. Like it's good. Like I don't think there's any song where I'm like, this is like so bad I need to get away from it. So at least one positive on this record. It's good. So
it's just like Performative Hours is kind of like this weird song that's kind of in its own little universe in the beginning, and then it's like we're kind of now doing a more mellow Flatliners record after it. So it's a bit like you are kind of expecting another song like that. You never get it. Yeah. So I understand that 100%. Well, what's the next record here, John?
We've got the Lawrence Arms, Skeleton Coast.
All right, Lewis, perfect record for you to start off here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to be biased here because I'm looking at the list of the bands here, and this is definitely my favorite band on the list. So Skeleton Coast was a record that actually I didn't like love immediately when it first came out. It took me a little bit to warm up to it, but then I really grew to enjoy it. Like, I don't think it's as good as the previous two records that they put out, but of all the records on this tier list, I'm going to come back to this one the most. And so it's going to be my S tier. Definitely notables on here. I love How to Rot is like one of my favorite Lawrence Arms songs. I just think it's so silly. It's got the whole breakdown with like Brandy,
his vocals are super high.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. It's so funny. But like, I mean, it's got a good mix of both their vocals, both the mixed songs. I mean, it's got the traditional Lawrence Arms style, the aggressive, the calm down. I know this Lawrence Arms are not for everybody, but my personal taste, this is going to be S tier. So,
all right, Dylan.
This is a boring ass album. I don't know what their deal is, especially like they've gone backwards on the production. Like this doesn't sound as good as
Metropole.
Well, it's like it's been like dropping off steadily. So like Metropole and then O Calcutta sounded better.
Yeah.
And then I thought Apathy also sounded better than that. So I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, I have it in the C tier.
All right. Yeah, I agree with Lewis. It's definitely like a grower of a record. Like when you first hear it, it kind of a little bit goes in one ear and out the other. Like there's definitely songs that you pick up on. Like some of my favorites, like Quiet Storm. I love that intro to Belly of the Whale, where it's like, if I wasn't just one kid standing on another kid's shoulders in a trench coat, you'd be in trouble, buddy. What's up?
Yeah.
It's like a great line. Dead Man's Coat has some great lyrics too. Definitely like a really mellow record, but definitely mixed in with more of the kind of traditional Lawrence Arms sounds. I still think it's like a fall off, not like a large fall off, but like a bit from Metropole. I think Metropole is better at doing this style than Skeleton Coast is, but Skeleton Coast definitely has a lot of great tracks. Even if I feel like the B-side towards the end, it gets a little like I wane interest a little bit, but I'm going to put it in the A tier because I think it's some excellent writing from the Larry Arms boys. So John,
I think. Oh, sorry. One thing. I think just like one comment on it. Like, so I think like a lot of Lawrence Arms fans like feel different ways about this, but to me, this record seems really similar to like Greatest Story Ever Told. I don't know. I mean, it's got a very similar vibe to me, and
definitely.
I'm sure there's somebody who's gonna shit their pants over that. Like, no, that's a masterpiece, and this is a piece of shit. But yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to note it because it does really have a similar vibe in the flow to the album as well. So, all right, John, sorry.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was gonna say. Like this, it's kind of feels like an evolution from Metropole, but it also like a lot of the same chord progressions from the earlier albums, and even like some of the melodies sounded very Lawrence Arms like similar. My favorite era of Lawrence Arms is Apathy and Exhaustion and Oh Calcutta. So I'm looking for like a little more of the energy too. There's a handful of songs on here that you get it, but overall, I think this is a pretty similar album to New Ruin stylistically. So I'm gonna slide it right next to that in the B tier.
There you go.
Oh, look at us. We all got the kind of different things going
Yeah.
on here, different directions. Nice. All right, what's the next record here, man?
Up next, we've got a surefire straight across S tier. We got Rise Against, Nowhere Generation.
All right, Dylan, talk about Rise Against Nowhere Generation, pretty please, man.
Noted Rise Against fanboy, titty baby punk boy. I actually do not have this in the D tier, though, surprisingly. I have it in the C tier. Very charitable act by myself.
I can't
think
imagine.
I think it's better than... I don't know the titles of the one with the kid on the cover with the American flag or whatever the fuck.
In the game?
Oh,
Something like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think it's
I
better
don't know
than
about
a
that.
few of their previous...
that's wild.
I mean, it's just a generic melodic punk-ish album. It sounds like mid-period Good Riddance, but like with less like concise socio-political messaging. I don't know. The band we're going to talk about next, I feel like, is the band that Rise Against pretends to be. So
I feel like everyone says it's the other way around. But,
Yeah.
but yeah, this Rise Against the radio rock band like Rise Against was accused of being in like the mid 2000s. They like definitely became a part of Nowhere Generation. Feels like just a collection of generic B-sides off of like Appeal to Reason and Endgame, but like other parts of it are like really just drawn out like they're expecting like the crowd to have like lighters out fucking songs, like these fucking big radio rock arena choruses. Like what's the one where it's just like, we are the Nowhere Generation.
Yeah,
We are
That's
like
the name of that's the title track, Nowhere
yeah.
Generation.
yeah, we are the Nowhere Generation. I'm just like picturing, the lighters are out. It's the, we're all standing up against like the corporate something. It's very by the numbers. It's very generic. I feel like it.
Oh, by the numbers. Look at you. That's the
I-
name of the album.
So, you always say
first
by. I
song.
start saying by the numbers now all the time because of you, Lewis. I feel like you say it
It
a
was
lot.
good. It was
It was
good.
good.
stuff.
It worked.
you can adopt a British colloquialism, say bog standard.
It's bog
that's a good
standard. I would say like even for like a pretty obviously I don't know what record label this is on, but it has to be like a big record label.
No.
The production is it's not.
It's independent, yeah.
It's
Apparently.
independent release.
Are
Okay.
you sure it's not some like imprint of like fucking Universal or some shit?
It could be. But when I looked it up this morning, it said Lorna Vista Independent Record
Oh.
Company.
Well,
I never heard of it.
Even the production is like really stale and toothless, and Tim's voice is like totally dull in this. Like, we're even Endgame and Appeal to Reason. Like, I feel like Tim still was able to like hit some really big choruses. It feels like pitched down or like made for radio in a lot of ways. I think it's a bad record. It's going in the D tier. It does nothing for me. So,
Real
John,
quick,
no, go ahead.
label was founded by the former chairman of Warner Brothers Records and
Okay. There we
distributed
go.
by Universal. So
There
there
we
you
go.
go,
Yeah.
independent.
All right.
Right.
All right, John. What are you gonna do with this independent punk band?
Yeah. I'm not the biggest Nickelback. I mean, Rise Against fan, but yeah, there was like certain points where I was like, okay, this sounds decent, and then I would start like listening to the lyrics, and I couldn't help but cringe on almost every song. How like goofy, and I don't know. I have to put it in the D tier just because it's so goofy and so bad, and it's such a shame what this band became. And yeah, it's almost unlistenably cringy. So I'm gonna put it in the D tier. Short and sweet.
There you go. Lewis,
I just,
what you doing here?
I just want to read the text exchange that I had with John about this record the other day because I thought it was funny. So I just, like, out of nowhere, I just go, who is this Rise Against record made for? These lyrics are so fucking cringe, which is not a term I use very often. John's response, the title track is one of the worst songs I've ever heard. And I agree.
Yes.
I said it's a different story when they're writing songs in their 20s and now they're 40-year-olds talking about fighting the power when they're millionaires with generic lyrics, and the Nowhere generation really fucking sucks. And yes, I agree. I am inclined to want Rise Against to have a good record here because I really like their early work, but this is really bad. Like, I mean, musicality's fine, whatever, but yeah, the lyrics are like embarrassing. Like, it's like a 14-year-old wrote them. Like, it's bad. Like, I just don't know who this is for. So it is going way in the D tier. Like, this is by far, like, if this was a superlative of like worst improved, it would be this record from the first two. Like, this is terrible. So yeah, a lot of hate on this record for me.
It's for liberal college students who want to stick it to the man, bro. And I want to be clear.
I'm a liberal 40-year-old. Sorry, go on.
I want to be clear. I graded this based on how it sounds, which there's a few, like, Broken Dreams Incorporated, Monarch, and Middle of a Dream. They remind me of, like, Rise and Fall, Raisin Grace era Offspring a little bit.
This would be like one of the records though that we shit on, and then you'll get the fans going, "Do you guys have no hearts like they did?"
No,
for
there
you
will
for
be
Green
Rise
Day or
Against
something?"
fans,
Yeah.
I'm sure. They have like 12 fans left, so.
Well,
They have
whatever.
7 million listeners. No one really gives a fuck about Rise Against anymore, though, so.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and move on to the next record here. What do you got for us, John? Was it Strike Anywhere?
We got Strike Anywhere, Nightmares of the West.
Can I
right.
go on this one? Because I was extremely vocal again. Like, I mean, I liked the Strike Anywhere record that we covered last week. I thought it was okay, but I was pretty negative on the band. So
You're pretty hard. You're pretty hard on Strike Anywhere, man.
yeah, and I don't think a lot of my feelings have changed on that, but I think this is a really good record. I really enjoyed this Strike Anywhere record. I don't think it's anything amazing, but I think the fact that I listened to this right after I'd never heard it, and I'd never heard Numbers, and then I listened to Numbers, and then I listened to this, and I was like, wow, this album is seven songs that I would rather listen to a million times over anything on that Rise Against record. So notable standouts. I think The Bells is a really rocking song.
Bells,
Like, yeah,
the Bells is the best song. Yeah, it's awesome.
that song is incredible. So I'm actually gonna give Strike Anywhere. I'm gonna give them a B. I was very effusive here. I think there's better records on here, but I at least wanted to give them their flowers because like this record's really good. So I think if I like the band a little bit more, it would have certainly flew into my A tier. So yeah.
Well, I guess we'll go John after you. What would you think about this Strike Anywhere record, John?
I'm kind of where I was at with the last one. Like, I think it's fine, but I mean, I didn't have this radical turnaround like Lewis did. But I mean,
he's a Strike Anywhere fan now.
yeah,
I'm the only fan.
He's the only fan.
I mean, coupling that with the fact that this is 7 songs, this is definitely an EP. So, I mean, I'm gonna toss it in the C tier. It's all right. I mean,
It's an album. It's over 20 minutes. I'm like right. I agree with parts of what Lewis said and parts of what you said. Where like I think it has like 2 pretty strong songs, is like "Dress the Wounds" and "The Bells" on this thing. But I do still feel like this Strike Anywhere record doesn't do like too much for me. It is still kind of like, what did I say here? You know, it's a solid collection of songs, but it doesn't do anything special. But it's got some catchy songs, some good energy. Overall, I don't really have too much to say about it. I wanted to put it in the B tier just to raise up Strike Anywhere since I had it in C tier last time, but I just don't think they quite make it there. But it's pretty close with another record that's in the B tier. So and it's an enjoyable record. It's a couple good songs here. So I'll put it in the C tier as well. And Dylan, what are you doing with Strike Anywhere?
Strike Anywhere is a good band. I think you guys were overly harsh on them the last go around. I don't think they have a bad album. They don't have that many, but they don't have a bad one, which is something that Rise Against can't say. I'm gonna put this in
That's fair.
the B tier. The thing I said about the band that Rise Against wants to be, is like, this is what Rise Against is like always LARPed as, like a politically active independent band who's sticking it to the man and all that shit. That's what Strike Anywhere actually is. So that's what I mean by that. Not anything about like sonically or anything, just
Strike Anywhere with the strong political
of the band.
The strong political beliefs of Strike Anywhere really got to Dylan's heart.
Yes.
But what's the next record here, John, we're talking about?
We've got a Wilhelm Scream, Lose Your Delusion from 2022.
Okay. I'll go first here on this one. I think this is a really good Wilhelm Scream record. It's got some really strong harmonies. It feels like an in-between of like the 2010s melodic hardcore sound and like the 2010s pop punk sound sometimes. Like some of these choruses really sound like I don't know, like very similar to like a Belmont or something like that in those type of bands. So some really catchy hooks on this thing. A lot of great energy. Sometimes the production on kind of these newer melodic hardcore bands, I think, is a little overproduced, and I like a little bit more roughness like the early Wilhelm Scream had. But I mean, I feel like there's just a lot of really strong songs, like the opening track, and like in Big Nasty was his name-o, Figure Eights to My Head, Apocalypse Born. I don't know. I felt like this was overall, like it felt really big while I'm listening to it. Afterwards, I feel like a lot of the details kind of get lost within it, but I still think it's one of the stronger records that is on here, and I'm going to put it in my S tier. So... let's hear Dylan. A Wilhelm Scream. What do you have to say here?
I gotta say, I was pretty disappointed in this album when it came out, because it had been like almost a decade since Party Crasher, which is my favorite Wilhelm record. And I thought that record was fucking insane, and then we wait so long, and then we get this, and it's just a bit of a disappointment. I mean, you got I forget the guitarist's name, I think, is doing a lot of vocals on here, and I don't really like his vocals that much compared to Nuno, so I feel like he should have held on to his ironclad grip on the lead vocal duties. There's a couple just like bad songs, I feel like the Enigma is not very good. There are good songs too, like the first track and all that, but it's like more like a pop punk record than what I want from a Wilhelm Scream. That being said, it's in the A tier.
Okay. There's Dylan's method of just like shitting on a record and be like, yeah, but it's A, but it's S. Lewis,
Apocalypse Porn, that's another good one.
Yeah, Apocalypse Porn's a great song. But Lewis, what are you doing with the Wilhelm Scream here?
Well, Apocalypse Porn got this one into the S tier for me, so I really liked this record. I had never heard it before, so and I'm a cash fan of a Wilhelm Scream, and I got to go back and listen to it more because I think there's going to be a lot that I like. So, this album was really, really enjoyable. I think even the ones that Dylan said he didn't really like, I thought were pretty good. I thought Enigma was fine. And Apocalypse Porn was, I think, one of my favorite tracks. So, good variety on the record. I was enjoying every track. Like I got really no complaints about it. Really awesome. So I'm gonna go S tier. It was clearly one of the better records in this bracket.
All right, and John. Yeah. I'm assuming S tier.
Yeah, this album Raw is the best album on the list. This is my second favorite Wilhelm Scream album after Party Crasher. Hot take alert. But my favorite song on here is Downtown Start too, the last track. Like the part where he's like inspired by the kid at the record shop. I love that, like kind of breakdownish part. The Enigma, I like that song a lot. I love Figure Eights, Apocalypse Porn. The title track is really good. And Wilhelm Scream is my most anticipated release of 2025. They've got a new record in the works, but this is S tier all day long. 100%.
All right. Yeah, I feel like there wasn't really any bad songs on here, to be honest. So, so
it kicks
ass. I agree with you. It's a kick-ass record. So, but let's move on. What's the next one here, man? We're talking about.
We got Against Me, Shapeshift with Me.
Okay, so, who should start this one? Who wants to start this one?
This song is trash.
All right, Dylan, go ahead.
D tier. This is the worst album on here for sure. Nobody seemed to really care about this when it came out, and nobody really seems to care still. They all The last record people seem to talk about is the Transgender Dysphoria.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's not a good album. Just a bunch of like shitty, like lo-fi, like garage rock.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go next here. Yeah, I just like said, like in contrast to like the anarchy and energy of reinventing Axl Rose, which you guys aren't like a fan of the style, but I mean you could probably appreciate why someone would enjoy something like that. But this is like one of the most bland, like easy listening, like Against Me records, like background music. Also, just some really bad songwriting here, like the song Boyfriend with that chorus where it's like,
Oh,
you
yeah.
treat me like a boyfriend,
It's so
some
bad.
dumb fucking boyfriend. You treat me like a boyfriend, just some dumb fucking boyfriend. And like, I feel like Against Me went from a genuine expression of like political activism and like really just like kind of just like emotionally just like poignant lyrics about life and stuff like that too. I mean, people might hate when I say this, kind of a vanity project.
It's definitely a vanity project. Yeah.
Yeah, like Transgender Dysphoria Blues, I do like that record way more than this one. Like I think there's some really good songs on it, and that has a little bit of that. Obviously it's about, you know, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to the struggles that Laura Jane Grace was going through, but this one just feels like really like a vanity project. Like I'm just listening to some kind of, I don't know, just ego out of control here. And even the newest record by the solo record by Laura Jane Grace is kind of in the same vein, also very similar to this and not very good at all. I don't like this. It's going in the D tier. It's pretty awful. John, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna echo what Dylan said. It's very garage rock, 1970s style. I think I mean, this is, I'm really gonna step out of line here, but I would rather listen to this than Reinventing Axl Rose, but I'd prefer not to listen to either of them. But yeah,
That's John with just the most hottest take, just randomly.
The worst take you've ever had on this channel.
That was
like
worse than the
I
Romantics versus Tiger Army.
I like them equally, is what I'm saying. They're both
my
they're
lord.
both D tier albums. It's yeah, it's not for me. I'll keep it short, D tier.
That's super funny. Lewis, what do you have to say about
Yeah,
Against Me here?
I hate this fucking record for everything you guys said as well. So I mean, yeah, it's not very good. I think Provision L3 or whatever is like one of the worst songs ever as well. Like that's
It's pretty
as an
bad.
opener. Like I was like, what the hell am I listening to? And then, you know, Boyfriend was on, and I was like, this isn't bad. And then the chorus, I was like, this is really bad. Like,
Yeah,
it just
there's a
sounded to
grown
me like,
adult writing
Yeah.
these lyrics.
yeah, I was like thinking, you know, they're just trying to make a straight rock and roll record, and like maybe they were, but it's not very good. So,
No.
it's certainly the worst record, I think, maybe besides like that first unlistenable record that Against Me put out. Yeah, it's bad. D tier all day. I don't want to shit on it too much more, but bad.
All right, next record, John.
We got Authority Zero, Ollie Ollie Oxenfree. I think technically this is self-released, but it did have a physical release on Thousand Islands, so dropped it in. I think P Records and maybe Lockjaw as well. But Authority Zero is next.
Okay, John, go ahead. Start us off with Authority Zero, man.
All right, I didn't know what to do with this one.
Yeah, me neither.
I really, so they released I think a handful of these songs on the Back Nine EP first, and all the songs on the Back Nine EP I really liked. So Ollie Ollie Oxenfree, Nowhere's Land is a great song. The Back Nine is a good song. There's a couple like meh songs on here, but I mean it's still like a decent punk album. I still found myself like singing along and wanting to listen back to a couple of the tracks here and there. So this actually ended up in my A tier. I like Authority Zero quite a bit, this era of the band. So Nowhere's Land would be my favorite.
All right, Lewis, what are you doing with Authority Zero, man?
They are also going to be in my A tier. John had been preaching about this record for a while, and you know, I was only really ever familiar with the early Authority Zero stuff and kind of fell off and kind of rediscovering their later stuff, and obviously like it's pretty good. And this album I think is really good. I mean, it's the by the numbers, as I like to say, but it's got a lot of fun songs on it. It's got what Jim Lindberg's on one of the tracks, which is pretty awesome. Sounding very robotic, Dylan, as you like to know.
No.
But
It's crazy.
yeah, but it is a good record, and it's pretty varied as well. It's kind of still got that flavor of their first records with kind of a change of the tempos, the styles. I think it's a great record. So A tier all day.
All right, Dylan, where are you putting this bad boy?
This is a very good album. I echo the sentiments of the previous two gentlemen, and therefore I'm going to place it in the A tier. And it looks like Mr. Elliot over there might do the same.
It's very possible.
He might sweep the A tier for Authority Zero. Let's go, Zero.
It's very possible. I also kind of struggled where to put this because I feel like it's a pretty strong showing from his Authority Zero. Like there's some great tracks, like the opening track, Ollie Ollie Oxenfree, The Good Fight, The Back Nine. I think a lot of the ones John mentioned, but there is like a good amount of tracks that I feel like do go in one ear and out the other, like Fire Off Another in Seas and Serpents. I feel like they really drag. Some of these songs really drag on to like almost the 4-minute mark and kind of bring the album down a little bit for me, but I think Jason's, I think it's his name, vocals are super strong on here. There's a lot of good stuff. Also, the Jim Lindberg features, he sounds like a robot. It's pretty bad.
They did it over Zoom, they said.
That's pretty. That's pretty. Is that true?
No, it's not true.
It's not. They did it from prison.
He did it on a micro cassette recorder and mailed it to him. Yeah.
So I really didn't know what to do with it because I felt like there's strong songs, but there's also a lot of just I would say kind of middling tracks. I'm gonna go B tier, but I'll think about it. But so.
All right, we're getting towards the end. We've got 3 records to go, and up next we've got Belvedere's latest album, Hindsight is the Sixth Sense, also on Thousand Islands Records.
Thousand Islands.
Very well represented, Thousand Islands Records.
Yeah, there's 3 of them on here.
Oh, why doesn't Dylan go? Because I feel like it's going to be his first S tier.
Yeah, go ahead, Dylan. Talk about Belvedere.
This is... Nice. I refute John's claim of the Wilhelm Scream album being the best on here, because this one is the best. It's very rare you get an album with no filler, but Belvedere has done just that here. I will say, I think that Hindsight, or what's the one before this one, is The Revenge of the Fifth. I think that's Revenge slightly better, but this is still an insane album. But yeah, my one knock against it, they have an insane drummer now. I can't remember his name, but they use the Pro Tools plug-in thing with the drums, and the drums sound kind of...
It sounds like a drum machine. That's my issue with it, too.
But also, Best Color Variant Award goes to Belvedere.
That's pretty sick.
But yeah, this album's insane. It went straight to the S tier when I saw the lineup here.
All right.
Also,
Lewis.
Most Improved Award goes to Belvedere.
Definitely.
Oh yeah, easily. Yeah, Lewis, what you doing with Belvedere here?
I would give them that award too for the most improved. Obviously, I don't have any room at the top of my tier, but this is going to be my other B tier. I thought this was a very good record. I am not super duper, I don't think as effusively loving of Belvedere as Dylan, and I think John as well, but I think this is a good record. I think Comrade is a really awesome song, and there's a couple other standouts.
Is that the one with Roger Lima from Less Than Jake?
Yeah, I like that one.
A much better feature than Jim Lindberg, so.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know, man. Like, I've listened to this like once before. I don't know. Some of the noodly guitar things they do, or like the things that they do, kind of throw me off. But maybe that's part of the charm. But it's cool, and it's definitely way better than that first piece of shit record they put out. So I'm happy with a B tier. And it could certainly go into A if maybe one of these other records I didn't like, wasn't on here. So good.
All right, John. What you doing with this one?
I would not describe this guitar playing as noodly, personally.
You know what I mean. They do a lot of weird movements. It's good.
Very focused.
Yeah. I think this is my personal favorite Belvedere record. Happily Never After, Good Grief Retreat. the final track, Peace in Our Time, is crazy good. This is an S tier skate punk album for me. It's my number 2 across the whole list. I was just listening again this morning. It's a killer record. It's like a 9.5 out of 10 skate punk record. So up in the S tier.
All right. Yeah, I said where'd I have it here? Like it's an incredibly technically impressive record. The precision drumming, the tight guitar work, the grooving bass. Like there's some great vocal melodies. But there's like a bit of overproduction.
Vocal melodies.
Sorry, I like slurred that whole line there. Some great vocal melodies. I'm trying to read through this, man. It's like a bit overproduced for my taste. Like the drums, I think sound like a drum machine, like way too much. Like it almost sounds like it could be a programming. And like this guy's such an impressive drummer. It's very tight. I don't know why they make it sound like that. And technicality is not my most like. It's not something like I'm impressed by it, but I'm never enticed by it. Not that this isn't an enticing record. It's very impressive. It has a lot of great stuff going for it, but I think that alone like keeps it from going up into the upper echelons for me. But it's going in the A tier. Like I think Happily Never After, Elephant March has that really fun guitar riff. Retina is like a really great song in here, and Memento Mori, great song.
Yeah, Elephant March is the one that I'm thinking about when I said noodle, because it's just like just so. I was just like, what am I listening to for
it's very just like fun and goofy. That dan 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 dan. I think it's a great song though. It's a fun song to throw in the mix.
They're obviously super technical, and I like technical bands, but maybe this is just like Dylan likes technical bands and hates propaganda. So I don't know. We're just gonna have to disagree.
He hates them because they're Canadian and have political beliefs.
Yeah, Belvedere's Canadian.
Don't be a fascist, you hoser. All right, let's move on.
Belvedere, less political, though. I think they talk about climate change in here, so hopefully. Did you know about that, Dylan? What's the next record?
I have functioning ears, so yes.
Well, if that's better than my functioning mouth, so.
That's definitely better than that.
Thank you, Lewis.
Second to last album, we got Hot Water Music. Came out this year, or last year now, because we're in 2025. Vows.
I'll start us off with this one. I definitely listened to this early in the year. It's like definitely like a record to vibe with. It's got a lot of slow jams stuff on it, a lot of really gravelly choruses from Chuck Reagan. Menace, Burn Forever, Remnants, Touch the Sun, all super great songs. I don't know. Sometimes it doesn't click with me. Chris Criswell also is in this, and it's definitely not like a mismatch, but I feel like they don't really utilize Chris's kind of style all that well. Like he kind of is just there to do his more mellow style, and he never really shifts too much into like that Flatliners like roar and then down into like, how he mellow singing or anything. Underutilized, if anything, but not a detriment to the record. Just kind of not that important to the core of it. So I think it's decent. I think it's okay. It's just something that I feel like has to grow on me a lot more. But a lot of songs that I just didn't really like how they sounded or how the choruses sounded. So zoning out a little bit on some of these tracks, but some good stuff here. I'm gonna do C tier. It's not bad. So let's go, John.
Yeah, I would love to hear the band of like honorary Hot Water Music members, Krista Makes, Chris Cresswell. I'd rather listen to that band than this. But some of my favorite parts of this are when Chris is singing. There's a handful of songs, so that propelled it. It skyrocketed out of my D tier to the C tier for this album. There's a handful of listenable tracks which the bottom two do not have. So yeah, I'm gonna go C.
It had a lot of stiff competition down there in the D tier. So
I'm not cruel. I'm not putting an extra rise against me. So
I think we know someone. Dylan's obviously going to put the S tier, but Lewis, what do you have to say about Vows by Hot Water Music?
Yeah, I mean it's okay. I mean, it's definitely not Hot Water Music's best record. I think I think most Hot Water Music records are pretty boring, to be honest, to give John and Dylan their credit a little bit. But this some are better than others and are enjoyable. I think all the points you put out, Elliot, like the gravelly vocals. I mean, some of these songs just seem like they should be playing in the background of a movie as a guy is preparing to hang himself. Like, I don't know. It's
Definitely a cold winter day in a suicide.
Yeah. It's just like, it's not a vibe record. Like, if you're in a dark place, do not throw this record on.
Because it's a drink yourself to death record.
Yeah, this is not good. So, but it's like I enjoyed it because I wasn't in a bad mood when I was listening to it. I was taking out Christmas decorations. Maybe it matched that vibe. So
I think it does a little wintry vibe.
Yeah,
Also,
a little wintry vibe.
Do you think Chuck Reagan could do an excellent cover of Silent Night? I feel like he would do an excellent. Yeah, I feel like he's perfect for maybe Christmas covers. So
yeah,
the Hot Water Music Christmas album next. Probably not going to be as good as Bad Religions, but
yeah. Well, I've already given away the game with where my last two are going, obviously, so it's going in the C tier. And it's okay. I mean, it's certainly better than the Rise Against and Against Me pieces of trash below it. So,
all right, Dylan. Segue to Dylan. So, what do you got to say about?
It's not a good album. It's a very boring collection of boring songs by a boring band.
Fair enough.
Therefore, it is going in the it's going in the D tier.
That is a record that is worse than Numbers. I cannot.
It's not called Numbers, bro. It's not. It's called Nowhere Generation. You keep calling it that. It's not called that.
He's like, don't disrespect that Rise Against.
I was getting so confused the whole time because I had Nowhere Generation. Both of you guys calling it Numbers. I was like,
I don't know. I didn't know what it was called because I said.
Oh, the Numbers is the name of the first song. Fuck it. Who cares?
Because I said By the Numbers, and you're like, that's the name of the record.
Yeah.
But then he also called Nowhere Generation the title track, so I was pretty confused.
Fuck y'all. It's good. It's good entertainment for me being stupid.
Yeah.
It's good times. But
it's okay. At least you didn't slur your words as bad as I did on that last read. So go ahead.
Mocal Velodies.
Mocal Velodies. I think you get that at Starbucks. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the last record here, which is going to be much the same, right?
Much the same. Everything is fine. I think we all had the first one pretty high, so I'm curious to see what happens here.
Well, we see. Let's see here. Lewis, start us off with much the same, man.
Yeah, I guess because I'm going to give it the lowest. But yeah, I was kind of hoping this was going to be much of the same, but it did not have the same vibe as the first record did for me. I really enjoyed their debut record. I thought this was not as good. I thought it was a little hokey. I thought the lyrics were pretty cringy, and I didn't like it as much. I didn't think the songs were nearly as good as the debut either. So I'll never go back to this one. I'm a little disappointed, but I at least have that first record to go to. So, but it's going to be a C tier. It's by far not the worst record on this list, but one I think if you looked at my board right now, that's actually the order. It would be my third from last. So,
all right, wow. Dylan. We'll go from the lowest to the highest. What do you have to say about much the same? God, what's the record called again?
Everything's
Numbers.
Fine.
It's called Numbers. Oh, okay.
Is it Nowhere Generation by much the same? Oh, hold on, I gotta know. What is it called, John?
Everything's fine. Yeah.
There we go. Dylan.
Well, it's in the S tier. I feel like this or Authority Zero could be interchangeable. Either way, Thousand Islands Records would have a clean sweep of my S tier here.
Me too.
With either of those. But I want to say rest in peace, much the same. F in the chat, broken up again, unfortunately. Hopefully they come back at some point. If not, I forget the singer's name. He's in a Winning Streak, right? Are they still active?
I think so. Yeah.
Yes. F in the chat for much the same.
Lewis says, I hope not. That's not stay broken up. That's what Lewis says.
If they can get back to magic of the first few albums, sure, man. No worries.
I'd say it's like a bit of a much more mellow record than like the previous one. It feels a lot more relaxed, kind of loose vocals, not much aggression or energy, but it like definitely has some infectious little melodies to it. Like I felt like also a lot of the bass lines kind of felt like a more complex like Blink 182 style bass line. A lot of this, like a lot of just kind of mellow pop punk. And at first I thought that was going to be in the C tier, but a little more I listened to it, and a lot of it reminded me, this is probably what Lewis doesn't like, it reminded me of like 2000s No Use in a lot of ways. Like You Used to Have a Garden, it feels like it could be like on Feel Good Record of the Year in a lot of ways. So I felt like there was some pretty strong songs: Snake in the Grass, You Used to Have a Garden, Man of Science, Man of Faith. So overall,
I hated that song.
Yeah,
Oh, God.
you hated that.
That's the worst one,
I
man.
I
hated that fucking song. Yeah, I hated that one. I like that those lyrics. I was like, I'm turning this off now.
I didn't pay attention to the lyrics too much on that one. So see, Dylan's a big fan of Man of Science, Man of Faith. Either way, it's in my B tier. I thought it was overall a solid record, but definitely a drop off from Quitters Never Win. So, John, what do you have to say about Much the Same?
Yeah, Elliot, I'm looking now, and the way these two albums look like they're meant to be together, the Authority Zero, Much the Same, like that.
I know, that's how I feel.
That rip is like perfect.
It goes right together. Yeah.
So this is only 9 songs. To me, it's propelled by 3 really good skate punk tracks: Snake in the Grass, Haunted, and Homecoming. I think the rest of it is like Lewis used the word hokey. That's like the way I describe it too. Like the lyrics are just straight up like dad rock, right? That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
But like
I was gonna say someone just had a kid or something.
Totally. And like, but those 3 songs are so good. So based on those, I put it above. Like, I think maybe the Flatliners should be up there. Like, they both have 3 really good songs to me, but I ended up in the A tier. It's decent, but it's a huge step below the other 2, Much the Same records. But yeah, A tier.
Well, we got to design our tier list around being aesthetically pleasing, and that Authority Zero, Much the Same matchup. Just you can't miss that. So.
It's crazy.
You can't miss the opportunity. It does look like the same record, huh?
I want to draw attention to something. This is like the Chicago, Canada, and Florida, and then you got a Wilhelm Scream from Massachusetts. But those 3 metropolitan areas very well represented.
Yeah, that's
the
good
metropolitan area of Canada, of course.
It's like, can you imagine there's like 4, maybe 5 different cities represented in this tier list.
Well, I mean, there's multiple. We have Lawrence Arms, Much the Same, and Rise Against, all from Chicago. It's kind of weird, right?
I guess so. I tried to get bands that all kind of had a similar, couple similar styles and same era, so maybe that just is what it is. But all right, this is the tier list. We did it. So congratulations, guide. We are finished with this one. Knocked it out. Throw it in the bucket. So I'm not sure what we're doing next. Eventually we got to do the copyrights, correct, John? So
yeah, we're supposed to do that next weekend.
Okay, we can do the
boring copyrights album.
So that's right, the least boring copyrights album.
Most effective sleep aid copyrights album.
Oh, come on.
So and then we'll be doing Blink-182 and Green Day tier list to the end of time. That's what the AI recommended us do in the overview on the YouTube channel. Just rank Green Day.
It was actually the Slim Shady LP track by track, and then it was Guess the Avenged Sevenfold song.
So we'll be we'll be reviewing the Slim Shady LP track by track tier list style, and then we'll also be doing Guess the Avenged Sevenfold song, which none of us will know. We'll do all new Avenged Sevenfold, and just none of us get it right.
I would just say all of the songs are backcountry.
Just play a different.
It's the only one I know.
I have to get one right.
Just play a different snippet from Backcountry every time. So
we all win.
Anyway, that's gonna do it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Head to punkrockradar.limitedrun.com. Buy some records, buy some shirts, buy some guitar picks, slip mats, hoodies, hydrogen bombs, and other stuff.
Dude.
Sorry, I couldn't tell them about that. I didn't mention it. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you again next time. Join the Discord.
All right, peace.